let's talk about what I read in March as someone who reads literally every genre. I finished the behemoth of the 27-hour audiobook that is Bogey and Bacall by William J. Mann, a fantastic Hollywood history writer and chronicler. I really enjoyed this. I was in it the entire time, and there's nothing more fun than doing a deep dive on two people you kind of knew about but didn't really know about in Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall. I would highly recommend it if you have the time and the interest. Bacall actually shows up in my next audiobook, and that is Kingmaker. This is all about the modern day courtesan known as Pamela Churchill and then Pamela Harriman. She was influential and powerful and actually shaped a lot of what happened in World War II and later. I really enjoyed this. I knew nothing about her, but it's cool to hear and learn about somebody who was obviously very misunderstood, but also besties with her father-in-law, Winston Churchill, and then later in her life, Bill Clinton. Wild stuff. Library book by Susan Orlean is about a fire that ravaged the Central Branch of the Los Angeles Public Library in the 80s. It is about the supposed arsonist. It's about the history of the library, which was my favorite part. It is about Susan Orlean's relationship with libraries and the library in 2018 when she wrote this book. I thought this book was great, at times incredibly moving, at other times just interesting and a good hang. When I finished Long Division by Kiersey Lehman, which I did twice because it's two books in one, I was incredibly blown away and also very confused. This is a Southern Gothic magical realism book about the power of words, time travel, the South, history, racism. At times it feels like a really funny, smart young adult novel from the 2010s, and at other times it feels like a literary masterpiece. And to be fair, I feel like both those things can be true, but if you haven't read this book and you like magical realism, give it a read. It took me 16 years to finally read White Noise by Don DeLillo when my sister-in-law gave it to me when I was 15 years old, and let me tell you, it was amazing. I should have read it sooner. This feels like a modern day classic, and it is, even though it was written in the 80s, not really a decade where you go, classic books. Amazing book about capitalism and family and death. I really, really loved it. It was funny and smart, and also felt incredibly topical since COVID's happened. Like, of course I loved Howl's Moving Castle because the movie is in my top 4 on Letterboxd, and it's a lot like the movie, but more. I also read The Wishing Game. I thought this book was a lot of fun, giving Willy Wonka, but I hated the romance, and that is the big thing. Don't put romance in books where it doesn't need to happen. Finally, I reread The Last Dragon Slayer and its sequel. I loved it. I love Jasper Fforde.